A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a stark escalation of tensions in the ongoing conflict, Israel has announced a complete halt to the entry of all goods and humanitarian supplies into the Gaza Strip. This decision has been framed as a strategic move to pressure Hamas into accepting a new ceasefire proposal, following the expiration of the initial phase of a fragile truce. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office issued a stern warning, stating that Israel would not permit a ceasefire without the release of hostages held by Hamas. If Hamas continues to refuse, Netanyahu warned of additional consequences. The situation on the ground is dire, with humanitarian organizations expressing grave concerns over the potential fallout from this decision. The ceasefire, which began on January 19th, had allowed hundreds of aid trucks to enter Gaza daily, providing much-needed relief to a population devastated by a prolonged conflict. However, as news of the closure spread, residents reported a dramatic increase in prices and a palpable sense of panic. Many rushed to stock up on essential goods, fearing that the closure would lead to famine and chaos. "Everyone is worried," said Sayed Al-Dari, a resident of Gaza City. "This is not a life." Meanwhile, Hamas has condemned Israel's actions as cheap extortion in a blatant attack on the ceasefire agreement. They argue that the Israeli government is attempting to derail the existing truce, which has already seen significant humanitarian assistance provided to the people of Gaza. The first phase of the ceasefire was supposed to lead into a second phase, during which Hamas would release a number of hostages in exchange for an Israeli pullout and a lasting ceasefire. However, Netanyahu's refusal to move forward with this phase has drawn criticism from within Israel as well, with protests erupting outside the homes of government ministers demanding action. Critics argue that Netanyahu is using the hostage situation to maintain a state of emergency and political leverage. As the situation develops, the United States has remained somewhat ambiguous in its stance, with no immediate comments on Israel's recent actions. Analysts suggest that the U.S. has historically favored Israeli positions in negotiations, leading to a pattern where Israel proposes changes to agreements that favor its interests, leaving Hamas in a difficult position. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues to worsen, with reports indicating that the closure of border crossings will exacerbate already dire living conditions. Humanitarian organizations have repeatedly emphasized the importance of maintaining the ceasefire to ensure that aid can reach those in need. The World Food Programme highlighted the critical impact of sustained humanitarian access, urging that the ceasefire must hold. There can be no going back. As Israeli airstrikes resume over Gaza, the potential for renewed violence looms large. Reports indicate that airstrikes have already resulted in casualties, including women and children, raising alarms about the escalating cycle of violence. The international community watches closely as the situation unfolds, with calls for immediate action to prevent further deterioration of the humanitarian crisis. As both sides remain entrenched in their positions, the future of the ceasefire and the lives of countless civilians hang in the balance. Negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire are urgently needed, but with both sides unwilling to compromise, the path forward remains uncertain. The implications of this standoff are profound, as the humanitarian crisis deepens and the specter of renewed conflict looms ominously over the region. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.